Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Fokondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, talking about culture, hey, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Between the Headlines on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Between the Headlines, we're going to be looking at fire and public safety in Liberia. As you may be aware, there has been a frequent occurrences of fire incidents in our country. And so far, the houses are burning to ashes. People are dying. What is going on? Do we really have the capacity to fight fire? What really is the capacity of the country when it comes to fighting fire? How do we do it? How do we prevent it? What is happening? So we've gathered the professionals to talk about this, because every time there are incidents in Liberia, like of fire or death, we tend to politicize it, and people talk politics, and we don't get to understand really what is going on. So we have invited some of the best among us in terms of emergency response. We have a veteran firefighter and a former director, deputy director of police for CID affairs. And of course, I have my co-host, the political bulldog, Mr. Anthony Sie. So I want to welcome all of you. Let me first welcome my co-host, Anthony. Welcome, sir.
Dennis, it's good to be here. This whole repeated fire, thing going on in Liberia, it is very, very troubling. People have died, homes wiped away, and we want to know whether we have the capacity as a nation to respond and save lives. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. Let me welcome Coach King. That's the former Deputy Director of Police for CID Affairs, Mr. Charles Ebu King. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much to the Mr. Cha and also Mr. Sia. Thank you very much for inviting me in. Thank you.
Thank you. Every time we have questions about policing and security, and every time we invite Coach King to come and talk to us and enlighten the audience. Also, we have Mr. James Alexander Hayden. He's a firefighter for the past 27 years with the Boston Fire Department. Mr. Hayden, we're glad to have you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for inviting me, Dennis, Coach John, and Anthony Sia. And nice meeting you, sir, Coach King.
Thank you. This is your first time on Focus on Liberia. We want to say welcome you. We normally give a bottle of water to say welcome. We really, really appreciate you accepting to be here and share some light on what is obtaining in our country.
I got my bottle of water, so
So, by way of introduction, Mr. Harden, born in Liberia, of course. That's why, and he's a firefighter, a 27 firefighter EMT for the City of Boston Fire Department. He was member of the group who, in 2011, went to Liberia and did the assessment of the Liberia National Fire Service. In 2013, he went back in 2014, and guess what he took? Fire truck ambulance, and he spent 21 days training the men and women of the Liberia National Fire Service. Again, Mr. Harden, I want to say thank you very much for your work.
thank you.
Let me welcome all our viewers from across the globe. We want to be talking about fire safety and fighting fire. Do we fight fire with fire or with water? What do we need to fight fire? Somebody was telling me, a veteran firefighter said, fire truck does not fight fire. So stop wasting time on fire truck. But let me start by getting our guests, starting with Mr. Harden. Just a brief, anything you want to say just to start the discussion. Something about yourself also, and then I'm very fascinated. I read about you and your work in Liberia. So just a little bit about yourself that you want our audience to know.
Well, I left Liberia in '83, and I've lived here for a long time. I've been a firefighter for a long time, and in 2010, I went back home for the first time. And I immediately went to the fire station. I was across the street from me. They were like, "What are you doing?" And I explained. And since then, I've vested my time, money, energy into the Liberian Fire Service, one way or another. It's been a passionate thing for me. I have no voice. I'm just a man standing up here, a concerned Liberian citizen. As I near the end of my career here in as a firefighter here in Boston, I really want to focus a lot of energy in Liberia. That's something that I really want to do.
Thank you. And so you see that firefighting. So the firefighters, they go first and they find something, and then they call Coach King and the investigators and say, "Okay, this is what we find. What do you think about it?" So let me welcome Coach King. Coach King, you have anything brief as an intro you want to start with?
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm very pleased to be sitting here opposite Mr. Harden. In our era of public safety, there's always a separation and respect for one another. Absolutely. No matter what it is, they have their duties, I have mine. Together, the law enforcement and fire service are there to serve the people. And the more they can be together to do this, the better the people are served. So when a fire incident is investigated and come to a reasonable conclusion and solve as to what caused it and who was responsible or may not be responsible, the fire chief and the law enforcement take credit. One hand watches the other. And as he will tell you more, as I said, that is completely out of my era. With regards to the investigation of the fire incident, that comes after the experts, such as Mr. Harding, has come in and determined what caused the fire, where it started, how long it's been going on, and he will go into the rest of that. Now he says to the police, we are looking, something started this. It didn't just start by itself. Someone started it. Then they gave us the information and we work together all the time. What are we looking for? Who are we looking for? Someone who has experience or exposure to a certain type of flammable substance, combustible material, or whatever. They tell us what to look for. And then if we find out, you know what, let's go back and do a crime scene investigation again and see what else our forensic investigators can pick up. Always in consultation with the fire service person. This is how it works. And the problem again with our law enforcement and fire service people, I feel, they do not consult, they do not ask people outside Liberia for help. They don't want to seem to want to ask their own fellow Liberians who understand the dynamics in the villages, who understands what's happening and the type of a service that they can go into. You see?
Can
And this
can
is why I would like Mr. Harding to come in because,
The-
you know, please come in, Mr. Harding, if it's okay with you, Mr. Ja. I'm just speaking it on.
I want to lay the yeah, let me say, but I want to
I'm
lay
sorry.
the basis here, Mr. Harding. You are a
Okay.
firefighter. So my first question to you is, what does it mean to fight fire? You know, like in firefighter, and what does it take?
It's almost a calling. It's a calling to service. It's a calling to service in your community. It's a calling to service your neighbor, your family, your country. If you travel around the world, firefighters are all brothers. We all understand what it is that we face every day. Our families sent us out to go and protect the communities that we live in. And it's you become a firefighter, but after a while you are a firefighter. That's what you do, and you never really stop being a firefighter. Even now, I was in Liberia recently. I just came back 2 weeks ago, and I saw a lot of the fires that were happening in Liberia. Anytime there's a fire, people call me like I was supposed to go there and put it out. I had a live stream of the speaker's house on fire. It's a terrible thing, and I don't think Liberians put enough respect on fire, on the dangers and the destructiveness of fire. Speaking to Coach King's asking questions. You can ask questions if you know what the questions are. So, in other words, if you work for fire, if you know what it is you want, then you can ask the questions. I can say to you that some of the people that put that don't know what to ask for. You understand? So they don't ask any questions. When we come and say, how can we help? They just say, well, just donate. Bring something, bring anything.
All right.
That is not, it feels like Liberia has become, and I'm going to be very blunt and very critical. If some people consider it critical, that's fine.
Say
We have become a nation of, please help us. Please send us something. Please send us a fire truck. What you would do with a fire truck? Your people are not even trained. We brought a fire truck. Not a brand new fire truck. We brought a fire truck. We trained people. Firefighters are coming from Sando, coming from Maryland. They were on their way, their own money, coming to the training. All of this, by the way, was done under the then Vice President Boycott. He found the money and he sponsored the entire affair. Okay, I have to give him credit for that. And we came and we trained LPRC. We trained the people from the port, the firemen from the port. It was one of the best experiences of my life. It was hot. We worked with people. They were so eager and they were so willing to work with us. We came with books. We came with gear. We came with an ambulance. It was one of the most inspiring things that I've ever done in my life. Coming home and bringing that much experience and work. Unfortunately, as soon as we were done, there was no follow-up. And everything that we did in that time it's going right back to where it used to be. So, bless you.
Mr. C, I see 2 minute questions in your face. has
I
the
want
fire?
to just a second, if I may, Mr.
Yeah,
Ja and
yeah.
Mr. Sia, may I
No,
interject?
Yes,
definitely. There's
please.
an open discussion.
For
Let's
for
discuss.
the attention, for the benefit of Mr. Harding, I did a fire service director course in New York City for high-rise building, hotel, and motel. So
Okay.
I took the course on fire safety director, and you know very well you have to be certified to work in those high-rise building with the
Yeah.
water setup. So again, my training as an investigator takes me to understand the respect the fire safety fighters, such as yourself. You see, and I'm a state certified private security officer, unarmed for the state of Virginia. We have to be
Okay.
licensed as well. So we have to teach. I teach private security officer on fire safety, patrol, and things like that. Not to the extent of Mr. Harding, but again, this is why, as a public safety person, you have to round your knowledge up to understand how to support experts such as this. Mr. Harding mentioned that. So I will wait for Mr. Sear to come in and then we'll go ahead because I have some questions to ask Mr. Harding himself and his ideas for what I've been thinking about myself over the past couple of months.
Thank you, Coach.
And
And
Mr. Harding, LSK Dixon is the just the immediate past fire chief of Liberia. He said he was
Yeah.
part of that class.
Yes, that's my man, Alex.
all right. Thank you, James. And I'm happy that you have dedicated yourself to firefighting, and you are a professional, and you went to Liberia, and you have deeper understanding of how the fire service their capacity is. So that makes it unique for this conversation. My first question is, based on your knowledge of the Liberia National Fire Service, do you think the capacity there is significant for them to fight fire in Liberia?
No.
So what are the things that are lacking
Or
Everything.
needed.
or needed?
That's right.
So one thing that I learned when we went to Liberia is that the fire service have a position for everything and everybody. Everything they have here in America, they have a position for in Liberia, which I thought was impressive. The only lacking problem is for operations, for the people who actually go out and put out the fires,
Mhm.
it's very poor. There's hardly any training. There's hardly any standard equipment. There's no standard operating procedure
Mhm.
uh, that they follow. So I'm not disparaging, no disrespect to anybody, all the firemen in Liberia, to all the the fire chief and the past fire chief. I have worked with Bafwa. In fact, he was the manager. He was the fire chief when we came down in 2011 and 13. That recently reappointed fire chief, was Bafwa. I worked with him. I worked with Alex Nixon, who was now the recent past fire chief. These are all good men. These are all good people. I just think there's not a willingness to really address this problem. Firefighting all over the world is a very time-consuming and monetarily consuming endeavor. It will consume a lot of money because you have to constantly train. You have to keep up your equipment. You have to spread out the capacity all over the place,
Mhm.
all over the city, all over the town. Whatever you're protecting, you have to, and these stations have to be manned 24 hours a day because fire don't care. Okay.
It consumes itself.
So, Mr. Harding, please,
Now,
how many fire stations do we have in Monserrado, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I know of 2.
Okay.
They have the training set up over there by the Bungmine Bridge.
Mhm.
And you have the Ashmont Street, which is basically a garage.
Right.
The headquarters is in another place. From what I understand, they have 2 or 3 fire trucks. I think there's really only one operating. Their system for getting water is poor. Fire is all about timing. The longer you take to get there. In that interview with Chief Balfour, where he said it took them 35 minutes to get to the speaker's house.
Mm-hmm.
35 minutes is way too long. There's no fire station in Painesville. In one of the most
these stations you mentioned, you visited them. From what I'm hearing from you,
yes.
Do you see them? Did you see them in readiness if, say, they receive a call to go?
When we came here, they were fighting fires in T-shirts. This was during Madame Salif's administration.
Okay.
We came with bunker gear, the helmets, the gloves, the boots.
Mm-hmm.
The SCBAs, the self-breathing apparatus,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the capacity to refill them here. So you can't really enter a fire structure without the self-breathing apparatus. So basically, the firefighting capability in Monrovia right now, in Liberia right now, is pretty much standing outside and put water out and you spray water on it. There is no interior firefighting. They don't have the capacity for interior firefighting. They don't have the capacity. They don't have ladder trucks. There's no ladders to scale walls or to get above, say, the second floor. You have to be able to enter a building protected to do anything, because they don't have that capacity. All they can do is stand outside and spray water.
So give me an idea of a typical firefighter in Liberia ready
Mr.
to go
C.
respond. Mm-hmm.
Coach King, I had a question, then you can go.
Mr. Harding, let me mention something. And this is the thing that I feel I am facing with the law enforcement in Liberia.
Okay.
You don't want to say anything that would say anything about someone else. But here's the picture. When you are commissioned and appointed as a person in charge of any organization, and in this case, police and fire, it is your responsibility to upkeep and plan properly the professionalization of your fire department or police department. This thing that we say, we don't want to make someone feel bad. I'm sorry, if the person is not up professionally to the standards, he will have to feel bad. Because when he leaves from Liberia and comes over here or goes any place for a conference, what is he recommending as a fire safety or firefighting technique? Nothing. No. So what is he contributing? Now, here's the situation. I've been doing some research some years ago. They have different size, and this is up to you two coming in. But you have different size fire trucks that can be having different capacities. And because of the situation in our country, which you are really going to be talking about, not me. But the issue here is professionalism. If you are a fire service director and you have been commissioned by the president and approved, appointed, whatever, by the legislature, the minute you come to, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have to. What are you telling us for? That's what we put you there for. And this excuse that comes up, and I'm talking about the present fire service director, the past fire service director, I don't care who they are. What have they done when he was in office? And what is this man doing now? He's complaining, we don't have this, we don't have that. What is he doing to do something about it? When you are appointed fire service director, you have to go out and make connections and bring things and make things happen. You have to be, this is why you said to be a firefighter, you have to love it. It has to be in your blood. You have to understand it, just like law enforcement. No time for excuses. And this is the problem. We don't want to make someone feel bad. But the people burning, the people dying, houses are burning down, little villages and things are happening. Before before the Civil War, we had Inspector Curtis, and we had the fire safety inspectors used to go around the homes. They used to go around the offices. They used to come to my office, our security system, to check for the plugs and safety things like that. They had them. Where are they now? Well, we don't have money. But then why are you fire service director? If you are hearing me and you're upset with me, come on the radio. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So
Let's talk about it.
Mr. Harding, so what do we need? Let's take the Speaker House, for instance, to put up such a fire. What is required, and do we have it? Because it's not just the equipment. It's not just we also need trained people. Do we have that?
You need to understand how construction works in Liberia, how the houses are built, the structure of the cement block, the ceiling, the roof with the wood on the inside. That's usually what burns, right? And your furniture inside, and also how everybody with any type of a big house, they got the window bars, right? Everybody locked their doors 200 times. Everybody live in fortresses, right? Because we don't want the road coming in and stealing our stuff or harming our family. But nobody pays attention to how to get out if you need to get out. You need trained people. It's very frustrating for me when I see those things. Say, take for instance the Speaker's house. Right, those big houses are surrounded by a big gate. Right, if nobody had opened the gate, I saw a video of Senator Sir Joseph fire. He personally showed me the video on his phone. That was terrifying. And who saved that man's life? His neighbors saved his life. Where were the fire service? Nobody in Liberia is waiting for fire service because they know they're not coming. I was in Liberia for a month with my auntie. We locking all the doors. I'm like, how will we get out?
Mr. Harding, remember the children that died in that school? 26 or more little children. When I saw that, I wrote and said, you can get window bars installed in such a way you can break it, you can push it open, and still maintain that. I published it in the newspaper. On top of that, no responsibility. Who was held liable for those children that died? 26 human beings? And what did they give them? A bag of rice? And what? And where the owners? Where's the standard?
Separate from firefighting, the laws can also be used to protect the citizens.
There you go.
Like the gentleman just said, you have to have breakaway bars on the inside of your house so that you can be able to exit.
Yes.
All the doors you put in your house, you have to have a way to get out. You can demand to have smoke detectors, which is probably the most important thing, rather than fire extinguishers, which everybody seems to think you need in your house.
Yeah.
Fire extinguishers are a great tool, but most people do not know how to use them. Okay? A smoke detector will save lives. Will wake you up in time to get out. That's almost primary, in my opinion, to help the people in Liberia right now. Because I tell you what, nobody is coming to help you. Nobody is coming to help your family. Nobody is coming. By the time they get there, from wherever they're coming from, you're getting a fire truck with untrained members, untrained firefighters who don't understand the flow path of fires, how it started. Investigating a fire after it burned is easy, if you ask me. You can just go in and look and you can determine, okay, well, this is what caused the fire.
Yeah.
Prevention of fire prevention, fire awareness, that's also necessary and easy. But what will help Liberia most is the laws that the government can pass. Because even in America here, you have to have a smoke detector in your house. Yeah. The government don't give out occupancy. conditions for your house, for houses in Liberia. The laws can be very, very, very helpful. People don't always follow the law, but it can really push people to do things that are necessary to protect themselves. It costs money,
And
so that's why most people won't do it. They will choose not to do it, but this is how you protect your family.
but Mr. Harden, the government in certain areas can subsidize because you see a burglary in someone's home, a person can replace it. You go catch a burglar, but a fire destroys. That's why I mentioned it consumes itself. Isn't that right, Mr. Harden?
That's
It
right.
consumes everything. And not only that, but if a fire starts in one building on Broad Street, it spreads to the next.
Look at
If
Randall Street.
someone breaks into the building on Broad Street, it doesn't necessarily have to break in the person on the neck. It's not correct, Mr. Harden.
That's true.
You see, he and I speak the same language, but he's the professional. So in Liberia, what he's talking about, the laws, if you have the architect organization in building and construction, no one listens to them. Public Works is one of those people that's responsible. They don't listen to that, and they don't listen. So you have to have the will. Again, it goes back to the professionalism of the person who's head of the organization. I'm sorry, that's what it is. Because here's Mr. Harding. He went back. I read the report that you all did on that 2000. Before I came, I read about you. Wonderful programs. But then you leave and you go back. Where is it? Where are all those equipment that you left there for them? Where are they? Who's using them? Because when I see the people, what's happening? And then you say, we don't have that. You can bring 150 fire trucks there. Mr. Harding said that's not the solution.
That's absolutely true. I spoke to the current mayor of Monrovia. I spoke to the current mayor of Painesville. I was just listening to Barfour's interview that he did last Saturday. And everybody talks about fire trucks. We need fire trucks. No, maybe people can donate fire trucks to us. Fire trucks don't put out fire. Men put out fire. Firemen put out fire. Trained people put out fire. Because otherwise you're sending people to their death if you're sending them in a burning building. How do you get in? How do you get out? How do you save the people in the building without harming yourself? Everybody go home. And anytime a fire truck goes to an incident, there has to be an ambulance there with them. Must be.
Now, Mr. Harden brought in an ambulance. I'm so happy you mentioned that. Let me jump on something else here. The ambulance should be occupied by trained medical connected personnel. That's why the medical school, the medical school in Liberia could jump on this input made by Mr. Harden. When you bring the ambulance, they should immediately say, wait a minute, let's use this as part of our intern program. Isn't that right, Mr. Harden? To work together with the fire service people and actually come and man. But who you got manning the ambulance? Someone who even know how to get injection? That take somebody and drop them inside?
Thank you. And Mr. Harden, you mentioned, I read that you're not just firefighter, but EMT.
Yes.
So connect the two when it comes to, and do we have that also in Liberia? Do we have EMTs?
No, there's no EMTs. All firefighters should be first responder trained. So that means you can do the basic minimum. You can do CPR. You can be able to bandage and immediately render aid, no matter immediate aid to whoever needs it at that particular point in time, because timing is everything when it comes to fire. So when it comes to people who are exposed to fire or exposed to smoke, smoke is not given enough respect. Smoke will kill you way before you burn to death. Just so everybody understands. The heat and the smoke, when it gets to you, it will kill you. You will breathe that in. It will come in and destroy everything inside way before you burn to death. Just so people understand that the smoke will kill you long before the fire will. Okay, if you fall, that's the only way you die in fire, unless you fall in the fire. But most of the time, when most people die, is usually through exposure to smoke and heat.
Really?
So yes, you need the ambulance. We're all first responder, EMT trained. I've been one. I can work on any ambulance in the city of Boston or anywhere else in America. But my primary job is to put the fire out, just so we can round up my training. I am also a hazmat, training hazardous materials. I've been a hazmat tech for years. We do technical rescues, disasters where you're doing rope rescues, water rescues. I am currently now working on. I'm in the Boston Harbor. I'm in the fireboat right now in Boston. So we protect the shores. We do ship fires, any fires close to the land, and also any water rescues that we do.
Mr. Harding, you mentioned the hazmat, but the rest of the people who are listening and you all, the hazmats can also, this is why the material that you put in your home, Mr. Harding, please talk about that too. Different materials from different parts of the world can create, something too.
We live in a plastic world, don't we? Right? Everything is plastic. When plastic combusts, it gives off all these gases. A couch, your furniture, all that stuff.
And different constituents, right? The different type of results.
Yes, well, the hazmat that we usually deal with would be, say, a gasoline spill, diesel, the hazardous chemicals from all the chemicals that you don't know, even medical chemicals, medical radiation. All these things are all part of hazmat. Recognizing the danger and mitigating it is what we also do.
Mr. C.
Mr. Harding, I want to know the typical firefighter in Liberia. Let's talk about the gear that each of them need, because they must first be protected, so that they can be able to fight. What are the specific gears that they need, and do they have all of that to fight fire?
No, they don't.
So for the listening audience, what all do they need to know this for a firefighter to be ready to fight fire? What all do they need to have on them to be ready?
Well, a modern day firefighter has to be almost fully encapsulated. Boots, the heavy pants, the jacket, the hood, and the helmet, and the gloves.
Okay.
So that you can be able to enter a hazardous building. We are exposed to so many hazards just in the time that I've been on the job, that you're exposed to all this stuff. You can put all that stuff on, and you still, because when you sweat, all that stuff enter your pores. So we have very high risk for cancers. It's a very so we put our lives on the line. When you put all this stuff on to protect you, it doesn't really protect you. But in the meantime, we still have to go and try to protect people. This is how we do it. This is how it's done worldwide. Now, Liberia, like I said, you have to have some basic systems in place to be able to train your men and women to be able to assess the building, assess the exposure, and what are you going to do next. You have to have officers who are ready to direct their men. So officer training and firefighter training are two totally different things. They go together, but somebody has to direct the men and women what to do and how to do it. You come with experience and training. Training.
And
Training.
Fire-resistant clothing, the clothes, the gear that we see on you. Can those catch fire? Can Can those actually protect
There's
you
no
from?
such thing as fire resistant anything. Fire will
Okay.
burn concrete. Fire will burn
Okay.
steel.
Mhm.
Of course, if you're exposed long enough, it's really to
Mhm.
protect you for a limited time to enter the building, for a
Mhm.
short time,
Mhm.
not be sitting on there all day. To enter and put the fire out, you ventilate the building, let all the fire out, let all the smoke out. Because, like I said, smoke is really what kills people.
Hmm.
Okay, and then you mitigate the problem, and then you investigate what caused this problem, and then we hand off to our brothers in the police. In terms
So,
of gear for them,
mhm.
and it's also less. Liberia is a warm climate, right? It's hot.
Mhm.
Put on all that stuff immediately, you start sweating. It would take a toll on your body. So you need gear specific to that climate, right? Bringing American gear was not. It helped, but really that's not what Liberia needed. The fire truck we brought, it was pretty, it was big, but it was an American fire truck for cold weather. You bring that to Liberia, that doesn't work in Liberia. It was too big. They couldn't get down some of the smaller streets in Monrovia. Okay, I had no control over it. I found out about some people coming from Minnesota to help. I called them up. I said, I want to be a part of the team. They accepted me. And some other Liberians also jumped onto uh, this opportunity to help.
Hmm.
And
So
when you receive a call, do you need to know what's the cause of the fire?
no,
Do you need to assess the fire before you start to respond?
no. Fire is fire. It doesn't matter what started it. You have to
Mhm.
understand if you're entering a home,
Mhm.
well, what's going to burn in a home? What could start a fire in a home? It could be electrical, it could be a coal pot, right?
Yeah. No.
Mhm.
It could be smoking, but it's a home. So there's a certain amount of things that will start a fire in the home, right? If I'm going to a business, that's a different story. If I'm going to a fire in a garage where they work on cars,
Mhm.
what am I thinking? It's going to be a chemical. It's going to be gasoline. There's going to be gasoline containers around. It's a much, much more dangerous situation. So basic understanding and seeing sides of all these things are part of the training that we go through. So you can make educated decisions before you risking your own personal life. I didn't become a firefighter to die in the fire. Just
Right.
so we understand, I'm not trying to sacrifice myself for anybody. I want to raise my children and live a good life. So we have to understand what it is that we do and what it is that we are doing. So
Mr. Hagen, let's come to maybe the training
training.
from our fire chief down to the men that are wearing the T-shirt to put a fire. Are they trained to do the job?
No,
Thank you.
no. I looked at the appointees that our current president appointed to run the fire department and the fire service of National Fire Service. And with all due respect to everybody who has a position there, none of them are qualified to run any fire in any country, anywhere,
Thank you.
including
Thank you.
probably the most experienced fire chief in Liberia now, who is Bafo, who is the current chief, because he was there for 12 years underneath Madam Salif. Now, that man's not qualified. I mean, I'm not. He wasn't a fire chief when he took the job. He wasn't anything fire when he took the job.
Go.
You believe he was not even a trained firefighter?
Pardon?
Don't you think he is at least a trained firefighter?
No. How is he a trained firefighter? I'm asking.
So are you suggesting that at least up to the bare minimum, our firefighters are not trained firefighters?
No.
Even the training that we give them when we were here, when we were there 11 years ago, that was the bare minimum. That was really just showing you how to keep yourself alive and how to what the techniques that you're doing when you spraying the water, when you enter in the building, basic stuff. That's all it was. But this is basic stuff that you need to know. You have to start somewhere, right? And we were starting from the really, really basic stuff, and we weren't able to get more detail. We also have people here, by the way, who were also training the fire inspectors how to inspect buildings. We covered everything. We covered from the inspectors. We even had a meeting with all the brass on how to run a fire department.
Oh.
But this was 11 years ago, and we were teaching people how to do things that they should have already known how to do if you're running a fire department.
Oh, Mr. Harding, the reason I'm quiet is I can't really believe what I'm hearing. So why do we expect these people to put fire off? Why do we have that expectation? Is it because we don't know? That's why we are expecting.
Think about it. We never have. What's the joke? What's the running joke about the fire service in Liberia? They check a player. They gotta go look at the fire and then come back with the water and come back to your house, right? Isn't that a joke?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they say about have any Liberian anywhere in Liberia, in America, anywhere, ask them about the fire service in Liberia? Do they expect fire service to do anything for them?
Mr. Harding, here in the U.S., the fire depots or stations, do they have their own water storage facilities somewhere? And if you look at Liberia, do we have anything like that?
As far as I know, they got one place to get water from, someplace on Dupa Road. It's a well. If they run out of water, they got to send the truck back to the Dupa Road to get a fire. So if the fire is on Bushra Island and they run out of water, they got to stop. Everybody stop. Everybody go sit down, and they send the water truck all the way to Dupa Road to get water, and then it come back.
No
so if
fire
it's during the day, if it's during traffic,
no fire hydrant anywhere.
No.
Mr. Harding.
There's no operating fire in Liberia.
Mr. Harding.
Yes, sir.
My statement for Mr. Ja and Mr. Shea. Listen to what I'm going to say. When you depend on LPRC or Robertsfield Airport or the Freeport, I think I would just list those three. You are taking away the emergency response from those other areas. Because if something happens there, where is the LPRC? Do you know the gross
let me say
liability?
Excuse me, sorry. Let me say something
Harding.
about the LPRC, about the members of the LPRC. Those guys were great. Those guys were because think about it. Look at where they work. Everything around them can explode and kill everybody. If that plant goes, so goes Liberia economy. So they have to have some kind of training, but they still have basic, very, very, very basic training. There should be the most trained firefighters in the country, separate from the airport. Okay. And I heard that the port doesn't have a fire department right now. I don't know how true it is. Okay. To be an international port, you need to have all these things in place, but we don't take it seriously. Liberia Liberia has no respect. The Liberian government, the Liberian culture has no respect for fire.
And so, it may not only be fire, it might be the emergency response as a whole. I don't know how many ambulances we have, paramedics that we have in Liberia. I'm not sure. Dennis?
And accept it. It's like, oh well, we take a risk.
Right. So what that tells me is we should put a lot of attention on prevention, awareness, education, and stuff like that, because we are not expecting any fire service to put out fire. How do we?
Last time you were in Liberia, but if you're in Liberia, are you expecting them to come? I mean, let's be honest. Are you expecting them to come? And if they come, are they going to do anything?
The people will even stone them. They say you came after the fire burned. They start throwing rocks at them. So how do we?
One fire truck in a city of 1.7 million people. Think about that for.
Probably was not purchased by government. Maybe it was donated by somebody.
It was donated. and everybody's waiting for forgive me for they're waiting for the white people to get them stuff.
So,
This
so
is
Mr. Aaron,
this is work that you're supposed to do. This is work that the government's supposed to do for their citizens.
so how do we localize this thing now? How do we, let me say, improvise, for the lack of a better word? Because, I mean, with the fires that we're seeing, everybody may die if nothing is done. So how do we, what do we do?
You know what we can do, and I actually had this conversation with the senators I just said. I'm like, you can organize citizen watches, citizen fire watches, but they still need some basic training. You can really push awareness, public safety, fire awareness, inspections. Really, you can really, it's a big bureaucracy, right? So put them to work, send them out in the community, let them do their job. If they don't know how to do their job, teach them their job, and then send them out to do their job. Instead of sitting down at higher headquarters collecting a monthly paycheck. Go do your job. One thing that America will train you to do is work you don't eat, right? If you take a job, you have to know the job.
Right.
Right. You have to be able to perform the job. If you can't perform the job, they'll go find somebody else.
Mr. Harding,
Yes, sir.
I know with your interest in this and your passion to be a help to our country, Liberia, you must have taken a look at what is being allotted to the fire service department. If you know, what can you share in terms of government funding to that fire service department?
So when you stack fire service along with all the other government agencies, fire service is the last. It's the bottom of the barrel. They have no control over their budget. They take whatever is given to them. And if you, on top of that, you put political appointees to run a crucial part of the protection for your citizens, for your business, for your economy.
Yes.
Okay. The reason why I get the training that I get here in Boston, the reason why I get the equipment that we get here in this city, right? It's very basic. It's the insurance company that makes sure that the high rise, that somebody can do something about that if it catches on fire, that their investment is protected. This is a very, very crucial part of the economy of any successful country, to be able to protect your assets. That does not happen in Liberia. If it did, the only person who would be fire chief in Liberia will be somebody who understands what it takes.
Yes.
But that is not what happened. It hasn't happened with whatever educated president we put there, uneducated, whatever. It doesn't matter. It does not happen, and it has never happened. Maybe it happened years ago when they were putting in hydrants in the city of Monroe. The hydrants are still there, by the way.
Yeah.
But I heard the Zugos, and then I take some of them.
Mr. Harding, let me ask this, right? Let's get to what's been happening recently. Fire. In your opinion, or professional opinion, even though you're not there, you didn't investigate, but what is causing this recent fire? What do you think?
So the last time I was in Liberia was 10 years ago, 2013. I haven't been back since. I went back this year. And when I went back, LEC was we're really just getting started, right? When I went back, you drive on the highway, you see all the light poles, you see the power. Now everybody has power. Everybody used to the AC and the fan, to watching TV, the DSTV, everybody enjoying the benefits of electricity. Now you have the power surges. You have houses that were never really built to take electrical system in houses that were never really built to take the amount of power, the wattage that are coming into houses. I will give Chief Balfour credit. He mentioned that in his press conference about the power surges that when LEC come and go. Right, every time it comes back, there's a surge. Right, this happens in America, This happens in Liberia. This happens anywhere where the power is going to come and go. You're going to get a surge. Whether it's a Nigerian wire, whether it was poorly built, whether it's there's no. I think, in my opinion, I haven't investigated. I haven't looked at any statistics, but I can tell you, if you look at where the power is coming into the house, it's coming into the wooden part of the roof, right?
Right.
If there's any sparks in there, that will start a fire. I'm not blaming LEC. LEC is just doing their job. Everybody said they want power. Everybody said they want electricity. They would pay for it. Please electrify my neighborhood. Everybody want light. But again, going back to inspections, what kind of wire are you putting in your house? You got the cheap wire, you got the expensive wire, right? Do you have a breaker when that power comes on and it comes to your house? Do you have a breaker? I think it's the electrical power surges that are causing a lot of the fire. I don't think anybody's burning houses in Liberia. Let me be perfectly frank. Again, I'm not speaking on any investigating that I've done personally, right? And it doesn't matter whether it was in the speaker house or somebody's zinc shack. When people steal power, when people steal electric and they run the power into the house, they run it with very, very cheap extension cords, right? Those cords can't take the power surge, right? Electricity is causing majority of the fires right now. And I'm willing to bet my career, my year salary, that's what burned down that main house. The speaker house, sorry.
Talking about that,
That's the cost.
Let's take a quick listen to the fire chief. He had a press conference yesterday based on what we are talking. And I want you to take a listen and what you get out of it.
There are three ways we fight fire: before, during, and after. Before is the fire prevention activity that has to do with going out there to inspect the premises, public and private building, to determine whether there's hazard. If there are, so we advise and what measures to take. After that, we also make awareness of providing education on the do's and don'ts of fire, and also on housekeeping. How do you handle your appliances in the house? Because most of us, we buy a extension cord because you have 5 or 6 outlets, we plug everything in our one extension cord. It's like putting 10 bags of oil in your hair and you know you're not able to carry it. So you have to be careful with the cord, make sure you don't overload the extension cord, even the socket on the wall. So right now, the major challenge that we have is electrical fire. It may interest you to know that from January to February, we have 41 fire. 12 was class A, that is what we call combustible or common fire. 3, class B, what is referred to as flammable fire. And C, electrical fire 26. There was 11 deaths and 2 injured. March, we had 11 fire outbreak, 4 class A, 1 class B, and 6 electrical. There was 51 occupants at present. In April, we have 7. We have 0 class A, 1 class B, and 3 class C. And another 3 were unknown. So today we come to let you know that we will soon be launching our fire prevention awareness. That way, until jingles, we want to prepare jingles. We also want to do it in vernacular so our people get to know that. We also do outreach in the community. We do talk show as we started today, Sunday morning. I've been on talk show from OK to Sky. I'm here.
All right. So there is fire, there's emergency, places are burning all over the place. And the fire chief, what I mean, let me.
Is he
I
gonna
want to be very respectful. Is that really what we're supposed to hear about? He had 5 minutes to do this. Is that what after fire? And we want to know the cause. He's giving us statistics. In fact, part of that press conference, he was teaching how to use the.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, he was teaching people how to use fire extinguisher. Mr. Harden.
The man has very limited resources. He, in the interview that I saw, he said that the budget for fire, which they have no control over, was $2 million a year, and compensation was $2 million a year. So there was no money for fuel, for repairs, for anything. I don't want to quote. I don't want to misquote the mayor, but when I was speaking to the mayor of Liberia right now, a few weeks ago, he said he called fire to respond, and they said they had no gas, they had no fuel. So if you send us money to pay for the fuel, will come. This is what one government official said to the other government official.
So why they take these jobs? If there's nothing there to work with, why they take these jobs?
Because they get paid.
Now, this is where I'm coming in. This is where we are coming into the situation.
And Coach Ken, can you wait? Let me show something. I think it will be in line with what you want to say. I'm assuming here. I hope I'll be smart enough. Dennis, I went to the budget, and you see budget line 300, National Fire Service. I highlighted that, and I also highlighted fiscal year 2024. I see 2.1 million there. Is that the budget for the National Fire Service actually?
What was that?
I would think so, because it's there. So Coach King, go ahead. So we can say that the allotment for them is 2.1 million dollars. And if you go far back, 2022 it was 1.2 million, and then 2023 2.1, 2.1, 2.1, and it continues 2.1 all the way to 2026. That's the projection there. All right. So that is what they have. Is that are they getting it or not? I don't know. I'm just asking questions by myself here, because I mean, Dennis, with this kind of limitation we see, and the low capacity or no capacity whatsoever, and they don't have any capacity to respond, and then we have 2.1 million dollars. What's the money is being used for? That's my curiosity.
That's just salary.
When I'm going to
and if that is salary, how many people do we have in employment of government to fight fire or to fire related work?
Go ahead, Coach. You were saying something.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Sia, for showing that. With regards to those itemized budget, that is something for my colleague, Mr. Harden, to talk on. But what I want to talk about is this. As an example, and I'm only making this as an example, I was reading in the newspaper where the superintendent of Montserrat County said he needed, I think, $1 million or $2 million for his project. You're telling, break it down. What is this money going to be used for? Now, that's the first thing, and it's the same for the police, for the fire service. When you go up there and be appointed, you said that you can do certain things. The question you asked, Mr. Ja, why do these people accept these positions and they know they're limited in supplies? They are there to find money. Now, if you cannot be forceful as head of an organization, then what are you taking a job for? What are you taking it for? This is my beef with the Liberian situation. You have people who go up there and the legislators question them, and maybe this person was a good administrator in a school somewhere, or maybe he was a bit. What that got to do with the task at hand? You cannot accept this mediocrity or no training at all. Now you also mentioned training. You can train all the people you want. Where's the follow-up? Where's the administrative head to support that training and to enforce the training? You have to have someone who understands what the fire service profession is all about. I'm sorry. You have to have this. Now, Mr. Harding can go ahead and please talk about the line items that should be there, that should be included, because he's the expert, he's the professional in this era.
And the former fire chief said there are 783 firefighters in the country. Just to, he stated that. He also talked about the fire trucks and fire engine.
Where?
He said there are the total of 5 stations. The total fire stations are 4 and 5 fire engines.
And where are the fire engines? Where the fire engines? You can have all that. Where are the fire engines? If he say it's there, where are they? Ask him. Let him list it. Where are they? No, I mean, anyone can say there's 5 fires, and then someone listening was, oh, but if people got fire trucks. But explain, where are the fire trucks now, and are they usable? Are they operational?
Maybe 2. Again, fire. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Harding,
let him finish. Mr. Harding, finish, and then you can ask the question. Go ahead, Mr.
Harding. Fire trucks don't put out fires, right? Trained men, but it's a tool, just like anything else. And it's a gun kill people, or people killing people. That's kind of the analogy here. Fire truck cannot put out fire. You need fire trucks to put out fire, absolutely. But if you have the fire truck and you train them never, then it's a tool. If you don't know how to swing a hammer and you got 10 hammers laying down there, what good is it doing you? If I have the money and I give Liberia Fire Service $20 million, will that do anything? Will that change anything? They can buy all the fire trucks they want. Are they going to be able to do their jobs? If you don't control it, how to set it up and how to run it, how to do all the things that you need to do to be a operating fire service, to be able to respond within under 10 minutes anywhere in the city of Monrovia, no matter what the circumstances are. Somebody's coming. If this truck can make it this one, the other truck coming from this side. If you ever go to a scene in a fire anywhere in America, you will see multiple fire trucks. A big fire will have up to 150 men at a big fire in Boston. We were able to field that many. And as these stations are emptied, as they're responding to a large incident, the neighborhood bring their trucks in and cover the stations that are left empty. So it was a big fire in Monrovia. Painesville will assist. Burrillville will assist. The neighboring towns, they come in and help. The LPRC will come to control this fire incident. This is how it's supposed to work. So Painesville got their own trucks. Monrovia got their own trucks. And they have their own resources. Let's put a fire truck aside for them. Call them resources. What are the resources that you need to be able to put out fires in Monrovia? You need fire trucks. You need trained men. You need equipment. You need to be able to replace this equipment as they break, as they lose. People take them. For the gear, assign men. This is your gear. You need 2 sets of gears. This is not a cheap endeavor. This is not a cheap job. This is not a job that anybody can run. Just because he's a partisan or he's a friend of a friend, get him in that job.
And that's my question, right? Why? I mean, a country as old as Liberia, Why are we having this problem? Is it money? Is it we don't have people, trained people? Is it that our leaders are putting square pegs in round holes? What is our problem? Why do we keep facing the same problem? Mr. Harding, you said from as far back as you remember, they have not really appointed even the qualified people to the fire department. Why is this so?
I'll answer that question.
Yes,
I'll answer that question for Mr. Harding, even though I'm part of doing the interview. I will answer that question. Let me be professional because this is a political question. Dennis, the reason is our leaders don't mean well. To fight fire is a dedicated responsibility for those who are trained to do so. You cannot appoint somebody to be a fire chief because the person supported you politically. The person has no training. The person has no discipline. The person has the know-how. The person doesn't have it to save lives. Any politician who understands that protecting the lives and people
and property
will not appoint a battle cry boy to be fire chief, because the responsibility is not to shout or yell battle cry. It is to put a plan to play to ensure that men and women are trained to save lives. Look at the number. 783 persons employed with the fire service. That is a huge manpower.
No.
But do they have any training to save a single life or put off even a candle in neutral time? No.
Let me correct that. That number, and Alex will tell you, that number, 90% of that number is administrative.
Dennis, there you go.
They all sitting down at headquarters.
Playing checkup, maybe.
Playing, whatever they're doing. The people who are actually running, who are sitting in the station, is about maybe 20%, maybe even 15% of that number. Just so we're clear. It's all a bureaucracy. The hair is bigger than the body.
My question.
You can't even walk. You walking down the street. You can't operate with that kind of overhead. The hair is way bigger than the body.
So it is obvious now that 783 persons we have with the fire service, they are just taking pay, and we are not getting the return on our investment, the safety and the protection of our people and property. We're not getting it. They're just taking pay and to chill. Mr. Harding, I have a question here for you. If you look, because that is an opportunity to have 783 persons that have been paid to fight fire and maybe do other things related to fire prevention and all that. If you were given the opportunity, or why would you advise anybody in this role with this manpower, given that we have no capacity whatsoever? How do we start and what do we do? Because we are completely zero right now.
So when we came here, when we came to Liberia, we went to Liberia in 2013 with all that equipment to train them.
Right.
That was the first time in the history of Liberia that they got training like that. The first time. The only time. And it was 21 days of basic training. That's the only, and that's the most training that has ever been done in the history of Liberia. Fire service. It's never happened again. I'm not disparaging the men and the people. Secondly, when we were doing the training, everybody came to get training because we're also giving us certificates. Everybody came. Most of the people who were training and putting on the fire gear and putting on and running the hoods and doing all that stuff were never going to be out in the field. Everybody came from the offices, from everywhere else. They all came for training. Everybody came for training so they could have a certificate to say they were training. I'm not blaming them in one bit. But that was basically who we were training. And when the training was finished, they all went back to the office. The people left outside who are driving the trucks, who are actually doing the manpower. None of those people are there anymore. They're all gone.
I understand, Mr. Hudson.
And when I was growing up, fires, because everybody with uniform, including fire service people, used to be arresting people and asking. I don't know if you saw that too. So people maybe want to get trained so they can add like security officer to extort money. And because I saw fire service people arresting people when I was growing up.
Well, the fire service in Liberia is part of the Justice Department, so they're part of that a law enforcement or security of the country.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Hudson, just a second now. I have to comment on that one. They are part of the Justice Ministry, but they have no powers to arrest for criminal violations. That is reserved for the police. And when you saw, no, that's okay. When you saw that happening, and the fire service man would take the person to a police station, again, instead of him saying about a fire issue, he out there in the street doing what he's not supposed to do.
And he will not take you to a police station because at the end you're going to bribe them and then they let you go.
Yes. So they are with the Justice Ministry, but again, they have no training.
Okay.
If they had training, as you are saying, they would know that they got no business out there directing traffic or doing traffic and police work. They should go out there and be out there inspecting and giving advice to schools, to businesses, and things like that. And having regular information, as you mentioned, as you've mentioned.
And that's what I was thinking. How does this become part of our curriculum?
When I'm inputting something, my concern is, as Mr. Sia mentioned, you putting the wrong people in the wrong places. And when will it stop? It's for people like you and me begin to ask, are being interviewed and bring this out to the public's attention. And look at Mr. Kofa, Fanati Kofa, the speaker. The headline, and I wrote about this in the newspaper, if you see my comment, he says, because of that fire, that's what the headline says, and you can't believe everything in the headline, but I'm looking for him to retract that, because now he wants to identify with the masses. When Mr. Zoe Penner had his fire incident, I commented on that. They don't read newspaper? These senators, when they make a report or when something in the newspaper, they can't read the comments from professionals? Huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Between the Headlines. We are talking fire and public safety. Our guest, Coach King, is a former Deputy Director for Police for CIDFS, and we have Mr. James Harden, who is a 27-year firefighter in the city of Boston. If you want to join the conversation, the number is on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Sometimes some people call this and they are charging 1 cent per minute because that they drop it. If they charge you 1 cent per minute, please stay on the line so you can participate. After that, give me a call. I'm going to cash up you the 20 cents or 25 cents that you use. So don't drop the call if they are asking you, charging you 1 cent per minute. We want you to be part of the discussion. This is life and death, and this is our country that we are talking about. Mr. Harden, let's talk about the education part, the awareness. I'm thinking this being part of our curriculum, people going to homes, having brochures. Like here at my workplace, that's what I'm learning. My kids are learning this in grade school. They say, well, when there is fire, kind of cover your face, drop and roll, those kind of things. We saw the fire in Totota where the people, they are on fire and they are running with speed, right? So let's talk about education a little bit.
Education is everything, isn't it? Everything is basic, right? So you teach your children from the small what not to do about, especially when they fire. You get the core part, people playing with matches, things that we all learn as children, right? But you also have to educate the adults too, not to leave combustible around for the children to play with, right? So all of this awareness is very, 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 very important. The educational part for the general public is very important. Um,
And
in Liberia,
who role is it? Is it the fire service? Is it who's supposed to do that?
it's not. It's part of the fire service that there's a certain part of every fire service that goes out to the public and educate the children. They go to schools. They go to communities, right? Small tight communities where fire trucks can easily get in. Those are the communities that you go out to and you educate them about fire problem. The West Point, there was a big fire in West Point a few days ago. Places like West Point where you know you can't get into, but you go out there, you spend the money, you take the time, and you go talk to the people in those communities where you can tell them, listen, this is very important. Because when one fire starts here, we'll go all the way down. So where you may not be concerned necessarily about what's going on with your neighbor, but your house can also burn because your neighbor burned your house, right? So the awareness and fire prevention is crucial. When I spoke about laws in past, you can pass a non-binding law telling all the schools to teach fire safety to the children. You know, if the little kid wake up and he smell fire, go call your pop. Go call your mom. You know, your mom may not be able to smell it, but the children will be so they at least they know. It's very important to education is a big part of it, and it is the job of the government and schools and teachers to incentivize teaching people how to be aware and how to take care of themselves and what to do in case of a fire in their house.
And the fire department is the government.
Yes.
The fire department is the government. Sometimes I hear, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
No, I'm just saying, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead, sorry.
When you mentioned about the government, sometimes I hear, and we can always hear a person standing up, like a senator or representative, and say the government should do that. But they are the government. They are the government. And that's what the senators and representatives should be doing, listening to the fire needs and passing laws, as you said. Passing laws. That's what they should be doing. But everyone gets up and say the government should do this. The government, you are the government. What more you want?
Okay, thank you. Well, we don't have any caller. Let me read a few comments here, and then we can get your closing. Does the airport have fire service? Because I think that should be like a requirement from planes landing there, right? Do we? And
yes.
Cause it should, right? It's a requirement. If not, no airline.
Yeah. A lot of why Delta, a lot of those big airlines pulled out is because they weren't serious. So, and it could happen with the port too if the port doesn't get the stuff in order and get the fire service up and running in the port. A lot of ships won't come because if I have a problem, who will put the fire out? So, the airport doesn't have a fire. They're probably some of the best trained firefighters in the whole country of Liberia right now. They have to be. They have to be. So.
Well, let me see if I have a few more. A lot of you say start with fire safety education and smoke alarm in the U.S. Firemen came to our elementary school every year to tell us to stop, drop, and roll, and have an escape plan for your household. That is very true.
That's very true. You can have a wing. The fire prevention is also responsible for teaching and spreading the word about fire safety in any community.
All these questions statement that are being made, all these comments that are being made, well, that's what Mr. Harding is speaking about. That's what he's speaking about, the need for training, continual training. It rests with the head of the organization. I don't find excuses for anyone. When I was Deputy Director of Police for CID Affairs, it was my responsibility to make sure my officers operated within the law and with efficiency. That was the name of the game. I settled for nothing less. Nothing less. I wasn't there to win a popularity contest.
John Smith,
People.
Gwen John Smith writes, my uncle James Thomas was a trained firefighter during the Trouble and Doe time. He was even one of the fire chiefs at one time before the war. So Mr. Harding, when you talk about training, the first training ever, maybe you meant to say first training ever after the Civil War. This person is saying,
the first training ever
in the country.
When I say training, I mean formal, trained by. I mean, you know what? It's very well possible that when OAU came to Liberia, but I don't know if people who remember when OAU happened in 1979, where you had to have everything was pushed up. It's very possible that they could have had some kind of training for when OAU came to the country, when all the.
We have two callers on the line. Let me bring on the first one. Dr. Saki Golafale, you're live. Quickly.
Hey, hello?
Hello? Go ahead, sir.
Hello, Mr. Jai, and hello to all the panelists that have been following the show, and it's interesting. As always, you come up with these very educated shows, and we appreciate it. I think this is part of the awareness and education that media institutions like yours, need to continue doing. And we also need to ask our media institutions in Liberia, both rural and urban media, they need to get involved with not just the fire safety issue, but safety in totality. All of these things, every time we hear there's a road accident or motor vehicle accident, people die, and there's a fire incident, there's so many issues. It speaks directly to the way our country is being run, and the culture of safety is not really deeply rooted in our society. Everything about our living in Liberia is like every time you live in Liberia is like a near miss for anyone living in Liberia. Liberians living in Liberia have these experiences. Every moment there's a near miss. Either there's a near miss or they actually, issue happens, like the fire disaster or there's an accident, because there are no safety measures put in place, and it's not part of our growing up. And people just it just doesn't get to the mind of anyone growing up. Like from my bedroom to the outside world, I don't care what's going on outside there, because it's not something that I've been trained to know. Unlike people living in other countries like the U.S., it's something it's part of the law that when you build a house, you have to have fire or alarms, you have to have smoke alarm, you have to have carbon monoxide detector, and all of these things. They go through the regulatory, compliance and safety, or check before people can live in homes. In Liberia, it's not that case. Look at the situation where one time people got trapped in their homes because people build their homes. They put so many, iron bars around the safety and security issue. They're afraid to leave their doors unlocked. Now, when there's fire, there's panic. Nobody knows where the key is. I knew a family who got trapped some more than 10 years ago. They got trapped in a home because they couldn't locate where to get the key, and nobody could easily break the doors because there were so steel raw doors everywhere.
Okay.
So there's
Yeah.
a lot that has to do with the structure of our society, the discipline, from our communities to the larger. Everything in totality is wrong with us.
Thank you.
We shouldn't just narrow this thing down to it's just fire issue, but it's everywhere. Anything that surrounds safety issues in our medical institutions, malpractices, we overlook them. Nobody is self-responsible for things. No accountability. In a traffic area, somebody run into you and break your leg. They're sorry. Or my man, hold small money and go. Nobody is held accountable. Anybody does something, gas station, I'm not sure if they're still selling gas in cans. Those very risky ways of handling gasoline. So many times we saw fire somewhere because someone handled gasoline the wrong way. So,
Thank you.
Jai, thanks to the panelists over there. They're very educated, Coach King and the expert over there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
People, I'm really enjoying the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring on Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy, you're live quickly.
Okay, gentlemen. Thank you very much, Ja. You always bring on these conversations that we must have with the political bulldog Anthony here. Hey, brother Hardy,
Yes,
I know
sir.
you're family people. Those people there, you see those Hardy people, they get real. And Mr. King, you many things you told me I'm beginning to understand now. But here is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go over out on a limb to do this. Okay? In 1980, we started appointing people who did not know the job. It was necessary because we had to replace those people. Why 44 years after that, we are still appointing people who don't know the job? You're telling me, why? Why are we still doing this? I can understand in 1980. But today, all the people have been abroad, they've been to education, our people, our little boys have learned. Why are we still applying people, appointing people who don't know the job?
And I can answer
What
that.
is the reason?
Yeah. And I can give you an example, if they allow me, that even the fire safety we're talking now, the fire qualified people went apply for the job, and the power that be said no. We're going to give it to somebody who we say fire, and he's teaching you, there are 3 classes of fire. They get class A, class. Come on. If I know the classes, what good is it? Somebody took the fire extinguisher and threw it in the fire, but no. We take out the pin. I mean, he probably Googled some of this stuff to come and say, but thank you, Jimmy. Let me bring on the lab before I get started here. Mr. Morris P. Kruman, family, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry I joined the show late, but I wanted to contribute to the conversation. And part of the point that I wanted to raise is, they're in 2 folds. One is that, in my opinion, and excuse me for my ignorance, but I think fire incidents typically are an outcome rather than the actual situation. So sometimes when we're investigating these incidents, it's important to look at what are some of the regulations around, building and wiring of these houses, the quality of the items that are, put into these buildings when we are structuring them. I think, unfortunately, we don't have, the actual standard regarding what kind of wire people are putting in the house. We don't have people going to inspect these constructions before they are done. Mm-hmm. So that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect is that post-conflict, the city is overcrowded. We have so many people. There's no zoning, no regulation, no fire hydrant. You can't get access to water easily. So
you can't even get to your own house. Somebody built in front of you.
That's correct. That's correct. So even if you have a fire truck that has all of the things in it, to navigate through some of these communities to get to where the fire is practically impossible. So because of these things, I think we have to be innovative in the way that we think about fire incidences in the country. It has to be in a way that we can't do the fire truck, in my opinion, and excuse me, like I said, for my ignorance, we can't do the fire truck thing anymore. I think we need to think about new ways of doing this, firefighting. That is not, because fire truck will not get to Dennis Jar house when he has, 15 houses, no zoning, everything just cluttered into each other like that. So we have to be creative with it. But I'm learning a lot from you guys, and I really appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Before Mr. Harding goes in, I would just want to say something. There are building codes.
Yes.
The architecture organization in Liberia have building codes.
Absolutely.
There's building codes for wires and other installations. Now,
Yes.
with regard to the other aspect, that's for Mr. Harding to go into. But there are building codes, but the government responsible, public works, that is responsible for this, they don't do that. They may not be doing that. But the Architecture Association, they have building codes. Mr. Harding, please take over.
Thank you. Mr. Harding, one second. Let me get the last caller. Solomon Sampson, you will be our last caller here. Quickly. You have 49 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Ja. Good evening to everybody. I just want to make a quick point. Be fast with it. The fire situation in Liberia, if we take it and say that maybe we are employing people in this particular department that have no knowledge and no education in that field, because they are part of our political party and we want them to have a job and get paid. So that's why we are now adequately fighting fire. And that is not so fair, because as one of the guys stated just now, that fire happened one time and then they called the fire department and they said, oh, we don't have fuel, we don't have gas. Send all gas money and then we'll come to the fire. So even if this guy is well knowledgeable about fighting fire, and he has to be educated about fighting fire, he cannot run to that house and use his hand or bucket to put off the fire. So we probably do have people with the education there. That's why they are in that position, but they don't have the equipment, they don't have the tools to get the job done. So I think that is the major problem. Our tools, the education, and stuff like that are the problems that we are facing in every aspect of our society. I keep talking about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Harding, those are some of our comments from the callers.
Let me say this. You can have a well-funded fire service, trained men, training. You can have everything you need to protect. You can have the laws, the codes, the smoke detectors, the fire alarms, everything, and you will still have fire. You will still have dangerous fires. 2 people just died in Boston very recently in a fire, a big fire. Okay, so fire. Whether you're rich, poor, whatever, whether you're well-trained, whether you're poorly trained, you are going to have fires. And what's going on in Monrovia right now will continue. If anything, it will get worse. This is my opinion, my professional opinion, because nothing is happening within the next year, within the next 2 years. If the government Liberia decides, well, we're going to invest in our fire service, and we're going to bring in people to train, them to show them how to do what they need to do. And we're going to invest in the trucks. We're going to get stations. We're going to have people. We're going to do everything we need. All of that will take about 2 years.
Thank you.
Now, one more thing for that caller who just spoke about the person trained, Mr. Harding here was in Liberia, and I'd rather listen to him with regards to the competency of the personnel in the fire safety department than anybody else. I would be a fool to even begin to talk about a fire service trainer, a training. He is the expert. He is the professional. He's been in Liberia. He has spoken to those people that you are saying, quote unquote, are trained and they can do so and so. No, no, no. This is why we are where we are, because a man like this is talking from a professional background. And then we're not listening to him and we want to challenge him. You see? So he knows what he's talking about. It's a person like this that should be in the legislature questioning those people who come in to say they want to take the job. That's the type of situation we're talking about. He is a man who is a professionally trained person and he has his certification.
And Mr. Harding, I was reading about you too. You also created a company, the Lone Star Emergency Management Agency.
Yes, I did.
I want to put you on the spot to talk about that.
That's fine. It feels like I'm screaming in the wind, or I'm trying to tell people certain things, and I'm like, okay, fine. Like, people are talking to me, people I respect my pedigree, and they say yes. So tell us, how do we fix this? And I'm talking to them, and I realize that I'm just a guy talking to an official, and what happens after that doesn't really matter. So I created a consulting company. What I want to do is offer training to the Liberian Fire Service, to anybody who would want to. I heard Tati Brothers, one of the largest companies in Liberia, they had to buy a fire truck because they own millions of dollars worth of equipment, but no insurance. And no insurance will cover them because they have no protection. So to offset the insurance policy, they had to buy a fire truck. Who's running the fire truck? Who's controlling the fire? Who's driving the fire truck? Again, fire truck don't put off fire. But I did create a company is registered in Liberia. One of the things that I did while I was there, so that I can comprehensively speak to the mayor of Liberia, of Monrovia, the government of Liberia, the mayor, whoever wants advice on how to do whatever it is they need to do to protect, to create a fire service. The city of Monrovia can create their own fire service, by the way. They have the authority, if you will, to do that in Monrovia. Do they have the money? That's another story, because it costs a lot of money. I can be reached through myself. I'm going to send you my information, Mr. Ja.
Okay, sure.
If anybody is interested in talking to me about what it is that I do, what it is that I want to do in Liberia. I registered a company in Liberia. I didn't register the company in America. This is a Liberian company. This is a Liberian situation. And this is who and where I want to work at. So,
thank you. And so we're about to conclude. So the former fire chief, the past immediate, Alex Dixon, is saying one of the problems with fire service is that too many family members in service, like you bring your son, I bring my husband, I bring my wife. So this is the man who was there for 6 years. So he's saying this. I believe him.
And then I will not be surprised. The 783 names, 50% might be ghost. I mean, where are they fighting fire? Only in Maserati County.
There are some agencies and places in Liberia that are designated just so that anybody can go there and work, because you were in the rain.
Yeah.
You know, so
yes.
So probably fire service is one of those. It's an EPS too. You just go and
fire service. It's a dumping ground. People just,
and this should be technical area. But thank you so much, Coach King and Mr. Harding. Let's conclude. Let me start with the coach.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I've enjoyed the conversation, and I really empathize with Mr. Harding. As I said, I've had the fire service director training, and he understands exactly what I had to go through to get that training in New York City, high-rise building. But I defer everything to him with regards to the fire discipline in Liberia. Public safety, one of the callers talked about road safety and on the accident highways. All of that is part of public safety, but you have to have the head of an organization who understand total public safety. Just because you have a degree, it doesn't mean you understand the concepts in public safety. So I'm available as always when you're discussing traffic, because when you have a person who's building a company, who's building a highway, they are responsible to create a safe environment until that road is finished. And you, as head of the police department, must make sure that it's done. Be a part of all those type of contracts. Same way with the fire. You have to go up as part of the fire service collaboration and talk to your representatives and say, we need this amount, or else I cannot perform the function for which I was appointed. But if you don't have that integrity level in you, if you don't have that willpower to say so, then you game for anybody else to come and override you. So for those of you out there who are in the public, who when they call someone's name for a public safety position, instead of you're clapping the hand like this and say, oh, that man a good man, or instead of just saying, oh, that man are my relative, make sure that that person is qualified for that job. Otherwise than that, you're going to get poor service. So that's my closing comment.
Thank you. Mr. Harding.
I can talk on this for all day, all night.
We're bringing you back next week.
Yeah.
This is our only country. This is the land, our birth. We have to take care of. I came here as a child, and my interest as an adult male is about as an adult man and as a Liberian is the safety and the protection of the Liberian people. Because I myself want to live in Liberia. When I build my house, I want to know somebody coming. If I invest in Liberia, and how many Liberians do we know? Just between the four of us, who we know, so many people. A lot of people are holding back because they have no protection. So it's vital. It's very important for the safety of our people and the health of our economy to really invest and really pay attention to fire protection and public safety.
Thank you.
You can reach me any way you can. I'm gonna leave my information with and maybe you can contact him and he will contact me. So I'm willing to speak to anybody, and whoever's interested, let me know.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. You know, when you think about the situation of our country, it's almost like you're building a dam with sand. By the time you know the water passing on the other side, we try to catch, is it sports? Is it road safety? Is it fire? Is it economy? Is it hospital, education? Everywhere there is hole. And that saddens me. Mr. CEO, let's close.
James, I want to say a big thank you.
You're welcome.
That you have been yelling in the wind. My only hope is that you will be heard or somebody in authority will hear you. Too many people have died now. So many homes got destroyed. And most of the individuals who lost their homes, they don't have the economic capacity to build those homes in days and months or even years.
No.
This is how serious this is. And then it's to see that our leaders continue to let us down. This is a professional area. This is a place, and I'll be blunt here. The president, Joseph Walker, is aware that this person he appointed to this place is not qualified for this position. And he also has knowledge about a Liberian who is qualified for that position. He chose to appoint a battle cry person. How can we put up the fire and save our people and protect them? It is not possible. The leaders will send their children to the best schools out of the country because they want their children to succeed. But then they appoint buffoons and they expect miracle. And that's why they always fail as leaders. And until we look for people who are suited and qualified and have the experience for technical areas to serve us, we are going nowhere. And so that is the sad story of our country. I can't thank you both enough. And Dennis, you know, this is what we do. We educate, we elevate, we promote all things Liberia, and we tell our people how it is. Thank you.
Until then, we close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night, and God bless you.
Mr. Harding, let's...
We are Liberians.
Yes, sir.
Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.